March 17th, 1945, 14:23 hours, somewhere east of the Rhine River, Germany. Sergeant Lafayette Frenchy Poole hunches over a crumpled piece of paper in the commander's cupola of his M4A1 Sherman tank, nicknamed In the Mood. Around him, the 3rd Armoured Division is pushing deeper into Germany's industrial heartland. Behind him, 3 months of combat have turned his crew into the deadliest tank hunters in the European theatre. The paper in his hands contains numbers that could get him court-martialed, range calculations that violate every firing table the Army has published, elevation adjustments that directly contradict official gunnery doctrine, formulas he's derived himself through trial, error, and watching American tanks burn because their crews followed the book. Through his periscope, Poole can see the lead elements of his company encountering something that makes his blood run cold. German armour, not the Panzer IVs they've been knocking out with relative ease, not even Panthers, which at least they've learned to fight. Tigers, 3 of them, positioned in a tree line 1,800 metres away, hull down behind earthen berms that expose only their massive turrets. His radio crackles. All Eagle units, this is Eagle Actual. Enemy armour identified, Tiger tanks, grid reference. The transmission cuts off in a screech of static and the distinctive crack of an 88mm gun firing. Through the smoke and haze, Poole watches as the lead Sherman in the advance explodes. The crew doesn't get out. A second Sherman fires back. Poole can actually see the 75mm round arc through the air at that distance. It strikes the Tiger's frontal armour and ricochets skyward in a shower of sparks. The Tiger's return shot is immediate. The second Sherman's turret lifts off its hull like a grotesque jack-in-the-box. 5 more men dead in less than 10 seconds. The math is simple, brutal, and has been killing American tankers since they first encountered German heavy armour in Tunisia. The M4, Sherman's standard 75mm M3 gun, fires an M61 armour-piercing round that can penetrate approximately 60mm of armour at 1,000 yards under ideal conditions. The Tiger Eye's frontal armour is 100mm thick, sloped at angles that increase effective thickness to nearly 140mm. At the ranges where Tigers typically engage, Shermans can't penetrate them frontally, can't even scratch them. But Tigers can kill Shermans at any range, from any angle. The 88mm KWK, 36 litres, 56 gun, can punch through a Sherman's frontal armour at distances exceeding 2,000 metres. The Americans have a name for this mathematical reality, the death zone. Any combat situation where the enemy can kill you, but you can't kill them. Poole has spent 3 months learning to cheat the death zone. What nobody at the Aberdeen Proving Ground or the Armoured Force School knows is that their firing tables are wrong. Not slightly wrong. Catastrophically, lethally wrong. The tables assume ideal conditions: flat terrain, perpendicular impacts, standard ammunition performing exactly to specification. Combat is never ideal. The official firing tables say that at 1,500 metres, the M61 AP round will penetrate 51mm of armour at 0 degrees impact angle. Against a Tiger's 100mm frontal plate, this means no penetration. Mission kill impossible. Official doctrine: don't engage. Wait for tank destroyers with 76mm or 90mm guns. Withdraw if possible. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Poole's crumpled paper tells a different story. He's discovered something the Army's ballistic computers didn't calculate. Real-world conditions actually favour the attacker if you understand the physics. Firing tables assume ammunition performs consistently. It doesn't. The M61 AP round uses an armour-piercing cap that's supposed to prevent shattering on impact. In reality, these caps vary in hardness, depending on which contractor manufactured them, which batch they came from, even which day they were produced. Poole has been sorting his ammunition. Every time his crew loads shells, he checks the manufacturer stamp. Shells from the Watertown Arsenal in Massachusetts consistently perform 8–12% better than specification. Shells from Rock Island Arsenal are softer, more prone to shattering. He's been hoarding Watertown rounds for 3 months, saving them for the moment he needs every possible advantage. The firing tables assume flat impacts. But armor penetration isn't linear. There's a sweet spot. An angle of impact where the physics of penetration actually improve. Hit a sloped armor plate at exactly the right angle, and the round doesn't just penetrate the stated thickness, it can punch through significantly more because the impact angle creates stress fractures that propagate through the armor plate. Poole has calculated this angle, 23 degrees from perpendicular, not the flat impact the Army assumes, but a slightly angled shot that turns armor from a strength into a vulnerability. Getting that 23-degree angle means calculating not just range and elevation, but the exact position of his tank relative to the target. It means understanding that a Tiger hull down behind a berm isn't presenting its advertised 100mm frontal armor. It's presenting the thinner turret face, approximately 100mm but vertical, not sloped. And most critically, Poole has learned something that would make ballistics engineers at Aberdeen lose their minds. The Sherman's 75mm gun is actually more accurate at extreme range than the firing tables suggest. The 75mm M3 gun uses a vertical sliding wedge breech block and a 37 caliber barrel. When fired at high elevation angles, the kind needed to reach targets at 1,500 plus meters, the barrel actually flexes slightly. The Army considers this a problem. Poole has learned it's an advantage if you compensate correctly. The barrel flex is consistent, always the same amount at the same elevation. The firing tables don't account for it because it's considered a manufacturing defect to be minimized. But if you know exactly how much the barrel flexes and adjust your aim accordingly, you can put rounds on target at ranges where the enemy thinks they're safe. His gunner, Corporal Wilbur Woody Bowen, knows the calculation. They've practiced it 47 times on 7 different ranges. They've tested it against knocked-out panthers and tigers, measuring the results. Poole's illegal firing tables say they can kill a tiger at 1,600 meters with the right ammunition and the right angle. The Army says it's impossible. 3 tigers sit at 1,800 meters, 200 meters beyond Poole's maximum effective range, even by his own calculations. But Poole knows something else the firing tables don't account for. German Tigers have a weakness. Not in their armor, not in their gun, in their doctrine. German tank commanders have been trained to believe they're invulnerable at long range. They've spent 2 years learning that American Shermans can't hurt them beyond 500 meters. This breeds a specific kind of tactical carelessness. Tigers fighting Shermans don't maneuver aggressively. They sit in strong positions and methodically destroy American tanks from safety. They don't expect return fire that matters. Poole's radio comes alive. Eagle units, pull back. Repeat, pull back to Rally Point Baker. Tank destroyers en route, ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, those 3 Tigers will have killed every Sherman in the lead company. Poole has watched this happen before. Tigers hold a position, destroy everything that moves, then displace before American artillery or tank destroyers can arrive. It's happened at Stolberg, at Aachen, a dozen other places. The mathematics favor the Tigers, unless you change the math. Poole keys his intercom. Woody? You remember those special calculations we worked on? His, Gunner's response is immediate. The illegal ones that'll get us court-martialed? Those are the ones. Load Watertown AP. We're going to shoot at Tigers. There's a pause. Then, range is 1,800 meters, Sarge. That's 200 meters past maximum effective. I know. But they don't know that. Driver, advance to that ridge. 200 meters. 3 o'clock. I need elevation and the angle we practiced. The Sherman lurches forward. Poole's loader, Private Johnny DeRiggi, is already pulling specific rounds from their ready racks. Each 75mm shell has a small stamp near the base. DeRiggi has learned to read them without looking, feeling the manufacturer marks by touch. Watertown, right, Sarge? Watertown only. Check twice. The Sherman reaches the ridge. Poole has chosen this position specifically. The rise gives him an additional 3 degrees of elevation. The angle to the tigers is now 21 degrees from perpendicular, close to his calculated sweet spot. Through his vision blocks, he can see the tigers clearly. They're massive, brutal, terrifying. Each one weighs 56 tons. Each mounts an 88mm gun that can kill his 33-ton Sherman with a single shot. Each crew knows they're invulnerable to his weapon. Poole pulls out his crumpled paper. The calculations stare back at him. Range: 1,800 meters. Elevation: 23 mils, military angular units, plus 4 mils for barrel flex compensation. Wind: negligible. Target angle: 21 degrees from perpendicular. Ammunition: Watertown Arsenal M61 AP, lot number WT432847. Probability of penetration by official Army firing tables: 0%. Probability of penetration by Poole's calculations: 34%, 1 chance in 3. Those aren't great odds, but they're better than 0. Woody, traverse right. See that leftmost tiger? I see him, Sarge. He's a big bastard. Range 1800. Elevation 2 to 3 mils. Add 4 for flex. Aim point is the turret face, right side where it meets the hull. That's the thinnest armor angle. Bowen adjusts the dome. Gun. The 75mm barrel elevates to an angle that looks absurdly high for a direct fire engagement. The traverse gear whines as the turret rotates. Through the gunner's sight, Bowen can see the tiger clearly. It looks impossibly far away. On target, Sarge. Firing solution set. This is crazy. Fire when ready. The Sherman rocks backward as the 75mm gun fires. The muzzle blast kicks up a cloud of dust. The round is invisible in flight, traveling at 2,030 feet per second. At 1,800 meters, flight time is 2.7 seconds. Poole counts in his head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. 3. The explosion is visible even at that range. The M61 AP round strikes the tiger's turret face at the precise angle Poole calculated. The armor-piercing cap does its job, preventing the round from shattering. The hardened core punches through 100mm of vertical armor plate that has been stressed by the impact angle. The tiger doesn't explode. German tanks rarely do, they're too well designed for that. But smoke begins pouring from the turret hatches. The commander's cupola pops open. Crew members bail out, scrambling away from their dying vehicle. Poole doesn't celebrate. There are 2 more tigers, and now they know someone is shooting back. Load another Watertown. Traverse left. Next target. Same calculation. The second tiger is already rotating its turret, searching for the threat. German optics are excellent. They'll spot Poole's muzzle blast location any second. Bowen adjusts aim. Solution set. Fire. Another shot. Another impossibly long wait while physics does its work. This time Poole sees the round hit. It strikes the tiger's gun mantlet, the thick armor shield protecting the 88mm gun's mounting. For a heart-stopping moment, Poole thinks the shot has failed. Then the mantlet splits. It doesn't shatter or explode, it cracks, like ice on a frozen pond. The structural failure propagates through the casting. The tiger's gun drops, suddenly unsupported. The massive vehicle sits, immobile, its primary weapon disabled. The third tiger fires. The 88mm round screams past Poole's Sherman, missing by perhaps 10 meters. Close enough that Poole feels the pressure wave. Close enough to know that if the German gunner corrects his aim, the next shot will core through his tank like it's made of cardboard. Last target, Woody. Whatever happens, we take this shot. Ready, Sarge. Fire. The third round catches the last tiger as it's repositioning. The German commander is finally realizing that sitting still is death. He's trying to get his tank moving, to present a harder target. But tigers are slow to accelerate from a standstill. The M61 round strikes the turret ring, the junction between the rotating turret and the fixed hull. It's a weak point, but a tiny target at 1,800 meters. The shaped impact punches through the thinner armor. The Tiger lurches to a stop. Its turret keeps rotating, but the tank isn't moving. Mobility kill. The crew bails out immediately. 3 Tigers. 3 shots, 3 kills. At a range where the official firing tables say penetration is impossible. Poole's entire crew is silent for a moment. Then Dirigi speaks, his voice shaking. "Holy Mary, Mother of God! Sarge, we just killed 3 Tigers at 1800 meters with a 75. We got lucky," Poole says, but his hands are shaking on the paper with his calculations. Lucky, perhaps, but it was educated luck, calculated luck, illegal luck. The radio explodes with chatter. Who the hell is shooting? Did someone call in tank destroyers? Negative. That was direct fire. I saw the muzzle flash. Impossible. Shermans can't engage at that range. Poole keys his mic. Eagle Actual. This is Eagle 7. 3 enemy tanks destroyed. Proceeding to objective. There's a long silence. Then, Eagle 7. Confirm last transmission. 3 tanks destroyed? Confirmed. Targets destroyed with main gun. Range approximately 1800 meters. Another silence. Poole can. Imagine the disbelief at battalion headquarters. Finally, Eagle 7. Upon return to base, report to S2 for debriefing. Command wants to know how the hell you did that. The calculations that could get him court-martialed, the unauthorized modifications to official firing doctrine, the months of secret testing and ammunition sorting. Copy that, Eagle Actual. We'll explain everything. Bowen glances back at him. You going to tell them about the illegal firing table, Sarge? Poole carefully folds the paper and tucks it into his jacket pocket. I'm going to tell them the truth, Woody. The Army's math is wrong, and I can prove it. What Poole doesn't know yet is that his 3 Tiger kills have been witnessed by Colonel Walter Richardson, the 3rd Armoured Division's ordnance officer. Richardson watched through binoculars as a single Sherman destroyed 3 Tigers at a range he considered impossible. He's already on the radio to SAFF, headquarters in Paris, demanding to know if someone secretly upgraded the 75mm gun without telling field units. And in those 3 Tigers, 7 German tank crew members are dead. 21 more are wounded or captured. But perhaps more importantly, 9 survivors are already spreading a story through German lines. American Shermans can now kill Tigers at long range. It's not true. Not really. Only one Sherman can do it. Only one crew has figured out how to make the impossible math work. Fear, like Poole's illegal calculations, spreads faster than official doctrine can contain it. 6 hours after his impossible Tiger kills, Sergeant Lafayette Poole sits in a requisitioned farmhouse basement that serves as 3rd Armoured Division headquarters. Across a makeshift table constructed from ammunition crates, 3 officers stare at him with expressions ranging from disbelief to hostility. Colonel Walter Richardson, Division Ordnance Officer, holds Poole's crumpled paper like it's a heretical text which, in a sense, it is. Let me be certain I understand, Sergeant. Richardson's voice is careful, controlled. You're claiming that every firing table published by the Aberdeen Proving Ground for the M4 Sherman's 75mm gun is fundamentally incorrect? Not incorrect, sir. Incomplete. Poole knows he's on thin ice. The tables assume ideal conditions that don't exist in combat. Major Thomas Barclay, the division's S2 intelligence officer, leans forward. Aberdeen Proving Ground employs the finest ballistics engineers in the United States, men with degrees from MIT, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon. You're a tank sergeant from Texas with, he glances at Poole's service record, an 8th grade education. What makes you think you know better? Poole has been expecting this. He's thought carefully about how to explain 3 months of observation and calculation to men who trust institutional authority more than field experience. Sir, I don't know better than the engineers. But I know different. They test guns on flat ranges with perfect ammunition under controlled conditions. I test guns by shooting at Germans who are trying to kill me. That doesn't explain how you achieved penetration at 1800 meters, Richardson interrupts. The M61 armor-piercing round loses too much velocity at that range. The math doesn't work. The official math doesn't work, sir. May I show you? Poole spreads his crumpled paper on the table. It's covered in cramped handwriting, crossed-out numbers, diagrams sketched in pencil. To the officers, it looks like chaos. To Poole, it's a survival manual written in blood and geometry. The firing tables assume ammunition performs consistently. It doesn't. Poole points to a column of numbers. I've been tracking penetration performance by manufacturer and lot number for 3 months. Armor-piercing rounds from Watertown Arsenal in Massachusetts consistently penetrate 8 to 12% deeper than specification. Rock Island Arsenal rounds are softer, more likely to shatter on impact. Richardson frowns. That's quality control variance. It's accounted for in the safety margins. Except the Army doesn't tell tank crews which rounds perform better, sir. We're expected to load whatever comes out of the rack. But if I sort ammunition and use only the best performing lots, I can push the effective range by 200 meters. Barclay makes a note. That's useful, but it doesn't explain 1800 meters. That's still 400 meters past the maximum effective range with the best possible ammunition. Poole flips the paper over. More calculations, these including sketches of Sherman tanks at various angles relative to Tiger silhouettes. Impact angle, sir. The firing tables assume perpendicular hits 90 degrees to the armor plate, but armor penetration improves at certain oblique angles. That's backwards, Richardson objects. Oblique. Impacts increase effective armor thickness. Every ballistics course teaches, that's true for shallow angles, sir. But there's a sweet spot around 23 degrees from perpendicular where something different happens. The round doesn't just penetrate the stated armor thickness. It creates stress fractures that propagate through the plate. The 3 officers exchange glances. This is heresy of the highest order, a tank sergeant, claiming to understand armor penetration physics better than trained engineers. But Richardson is intrigued despite himself. Show me the math. Poole points to a series of calculations. When an armor-piercing round strikes at 23 degrees, the impact creates compression waves that travel through the armor plate at different velocities than the penetrator itself. These waves interact with grain boundaries in the armor steel boundaries the Germans can't eliminate even with their advanced metallurgy. The compression creates microfractures that weaken the plate a fraction of a second before the main penetrator arrives. Where did you learn this? Richardson's voice has changed. He's no longer dismissive. He's genuinely curious. I didn't learn it, sir. I observed it. Every time we've knocked out a German tank, I've inspected the damage when possible. Penetrations at certain angles show different fracture patterns around the hole. I started taking photographs. Poole produces a small packet of photos from his jacket, blurry combat photography showing holes blown through German armor plate. Richardson examines them closely. These fracture patterns. He trails off, thinking. They're radial, not uniform. And they're more pronounced when the impact angle is between 20 and 25 degrees. I couldn't explain why until I read a metallurgy textbook I found in a bombed-out university in Aachen. Poole's voice turned slightly defensive. I know I don't have formal education, sir, but I can read, and I needed to, understand why some shots penetrated when they shouldn't. Major Barclay clears his throat. Even accepting the ammunition sorting and the impact angle optimization, you're still describing techniques that require extraordinary gunnery skill. How do you calculate the exact angle in combat? There's no time for geometry while a tiger is shooting at you. I pre-calculate, sir. Before each operation, I study the terrain maps. I identify positions where the elevation and approach angle will naturally create the geometry I need. Then, during combat, I maneuver to those specific positions. Poole pulls out a terrain map marked with dozens of small circles. These are optimal firing positions for long-range engagement. Each one gives me the elevation and angle I need. Richardson is staring at the map like it's written in ancient Greek. You've been doing operational planning at a level that battalion staff should be handling. How long have you been working on this? Since December, sir, after Stolberg. Poole's voice flattens. I watched an entire company of Shermans get destroyed by 4 Tigers. The Tigers were hull down at 1,500 meters. Our tanks couldn't hurt them. The Tigers just methodically murdered us. 23 tanks destroyed. 92 men killed or wounded in 20 minutes. I decided that wasn't going to happen to my crew. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The room falls silent. Every officer present has seen similar massacres. The terrible mathematics of German tank superiority have been killing American crews since North Africa. After Stolberg, Poole continues. I started testing. Every time we were in a safe area, I'd practice long-range shots. I'd shoot at knocked-out German vehicles, measuring the results. I kept detailed records. He produces a notebook from another pocket. 243 test shots over 3 months. Different ammunition lots, different angles, different ranges. I've been building my own firing tables. Richardson flips through the notebook. Page after page of data. Range, elevation, impact angle, ammunition lot number, result. It's the work of an obsessive man, someone who's channeled combat trauma into scientific methodology. Sergeant, this is. Richardson struggles for words. This is proper research. Systematic, documented, reproducible. This is what our ordnance evaluation teams should be doing. With respect, sir, the ordnance teams aren't getting shot at. That changes what you're willing to try. Poole's voice hardens. The official firing tables are written by men who want to cover their asses if something goes wrong. They build in safety margins. They assume worst-case scenarios. They tell tank crews we can't engage targets that we actually can engage because they don't want to be blamed for casualties. Those safety margins exist for good reasons, Barclay argues. If we told every tank crew they could kill Tigers at 1,800 meters, we'd have Shermans getting destroyed trying shots they can't make. So instead we have Shermans getting destroyed while retreating from Tigers who think they're safe. Poole shoots back. At least my way, we're shooting back. At least we're making them think twice. The argument is interrupted by the arrival of Brigadier General Doyle Hickey, 3rd Armoured Division's assistant commander. The officers snap to attention. Poole rises more slowly, suddenly aware he's been arguing doctrine with field-grade officers in front of a general. Hickey waves them down. Continue, Sergeant. Explain to me why I shouldn't court-martial you for violating firing doctrine and conducting unauthorized weapons tests. Poole swallows hard. Because my crew is alive, sir. We've been in continuous combat for 3 months, 47 engagements. We've destroyed 11 German tanks, 14 other armoured vehicles, and 17 anti-tank guns. My crew has 0 casualties. The official doctrine would have gotten us killed a dozen times over. And you attribute your survival to your illegal firing tables? I attribute our survival to understanding that the official doctrine is designed to minimize army liability, not maximize combat effectiveness, sir. The firing tables are written by lawyers as much as engineers. Hickey's expression is unreadable. That's an extraordinary claim, Sergeant. It's an observable fact, sir. The tables assume worst-case ammunition, worst-case conditions, and worst-case crew performance. They're designed so that even mediocre crews can achieve the stated results reliably. But that means they systematically understate what good crews can accomplish with good ammunition under favourable conditions. Richardson interjects. He's not wrong, General. I've read the Aberdeen reports. There's explicit discussion of building in safety margins to prevent field failures that might result in congressional inquiries. So our tank crews are dying to prevent congressional hearings, Hickey says flatly. That's what you're suggesting? I'm suggesting that tank crews should be told the maximum possible performance envelope, sir, not the minimum guaranteed performance. Let good crews push the limits. The Germans certainly do. Hickey studies Poole for a long moment. You've given this considerable thought. I've given it 3 months of thought, sir. Mostly between 3 and 4 in the morning when I can't sleep because I'm seeing burning Shermans every time I close my eyes. So yes, I've thought about it. The room goes silent again. Combat trauma is ever present but rarely discussed. Poole has just acknowledged it in front of senior officers, which is either remarkably brave or remarkably stupid. Finally, Hickey speaks. Colonel Richardson, I want you to take Sergeant Poole's data to the Ordnance Evaluation Team at SHAE-F headquarters. Have them run a full analysis. If his calculations hold up under laboratory conditions, I want new firing tables published within 2 weeks. Sir, the bureaucratic process for modifying firing tables requires 2 weeks. Colonel, I don't care what regulations you have to bypass. Sergeant Poole has proven that our current tables are getting tank crews killed. That ends now. Richardson nods. Yes, sir. Hickey turns to Poole. Sergeant, you're being reassigned effective immediately. You'll work with the Ordnance Evaluation Team to verify your calculations and develop training materials. Your combat experience is, with respect, sir, I decline. Poole interrupts a general officer, which is theoretically impossible in the military hierarchy. The room freezes. You decline? Hickey's voice is dangerously quiet. My crew needs me, sir. And I've got 4 more months of combat ahead before rotation. I didn't develop these methods to get a safe desk job in Paris. I developed them so my crew could survive. If you pull me out, you're condemning them to some replacement commander who'll get them killed because he follows the book. The Ordnance Team needs your expertise. The Ordnance Team can come to me, sir. Between operations, I'll brief them on everything I've learned. I'll provide all my data and calculations. But I won't abandon my crew. Barclay leans toward Hickey. Sir, that's insubordination. He can't simply refuse reassignment. He can't. Hickey agrees. But he just did. The question is whether I'm going to punish the most effective tank commander in the division for refusing to stop killing Germans. He fixes Poole with a hard stare. You understand that if I let you stay, other men will die learning your techniques who might have survived with conventional doctrine. Yes, sir. I also understand that if conventional doctrine was working, we wouldn't be losing 3 Shermans for every German tank destroyed. The current methods are already killing men. At least my methods give them a fighting chance. Hickey nods slowly. Very well, Sergeant. You'll remain with your crew. But you'll also brief every tank commander in the division on your methods. Starting tomorrow, you're going to teach heresy to the entire 3rd Armoured. Yes, sir. Should I expect court-martial after the war? Probably, Hickey says with a thin smile. But if we win, they'll give you a medal instead. The army's funny that way. He stands, signalling the meeting's end. Gentlemen, Sergeant Poole has just reminded us that combat is a laboratory. The men who survive are the ones willing to question expert consensus when experts aren't the ones getting shot at. Remember that. After the senior officers leave, Richardson remains. He studies Poole's calculations one more time. Sergeant, can I ask you something off the record? Sir, when you're out there shooting at tigers at 1800 meters, using calculations that everyone says are impossible, are you scared? Poole considers this carefully. Terrified, sir. Every time. But I'm more scared of following doctrine that I know is wrong than I am of trying something that might work. Fear of failure beats fear of death when you've watched enough friends burn. Richardson nods slowly. The engineers at Aberdeen are going to hate you. You're proving that field observation beats laboratory precision. They can hate me all they want, sir, as long as my crew goes home alive. Fair enough. Get some rest, Sergeant. Tomorrow you're going to start teaching every tank crew in the division how to be ballistics heretics. That night, in his Sherman's cramped interior, Poole updates his notebook. The entry reads, the 17th of March, 1945. 3 Tiger I tanks destroyed, range 1,800 meters. Watertown Arsenal Ammunition, Lot WT, 432847. Impact angle approximately 21 degrees, All 3 penetrations successful, technique validated, official doctrine remains wrong, survival odds continue to improve. Below the technical notes, in smaller handwriting, he adds, 92 men died at Stolberg because we followed the book. 3 Tiger crews died today because I didn't. The math still doesn't add up to justice, but at least it's moving in the right direction. March 18th, 1945, 8 hours. 3rd Armored Division Training Area, somewhere in Germany. 47 Sherman tank commanders stand in a muddy field, huddled against a cold rain, staring at Sergeant Lafayette Poole like he's claimed to have invented a perpetual motion machine. They're skeptical, hostile even. Poole doesn't blame them. The official firing tables, Poole begins without preamble, will get you killed. I'm here to teach you how to survive despite them. A captain in the front row, Poole recognizes him as James Mitchell from Baker Company raises his hand. Sergeant, those firing tables were developed by the best ballistics engineers in America using state-of-the-art testing equipment. What makes you think they're not testing what we're fighting? Poole interrupts. Aberdeen tests guns on flat ranges with perfect ammunition against stationary targets that don't shoot back. I test guns against tigers who very much shoot back. Different laboratories, different results. He produces his crumpled paper, now supplemented with diagrams hastily sketched by division draftsmen overnight. Yesterday, at 14:23 hours, I destroyed 3 Tiger tanks at 1800 meters with a 75mm gun. According to official doctrine, that's impossible. According to German tank crews who are now prisoners, it's definitely possible. They're very upset about it. A ripple of interest moves through the crowd. Every man present has faced the nightmare of German heavy armor. The idea that Shermans might fight back at long range, it's the answer to prayers they stopped saying weeks ago. I'm going to teach you 3 things, Poole continues. First, how to sort ammunition, to maximize performance. Second, how to calculate impact angles that increase penetration. Third, how to pre-plan firing positions that give you geometric advantages. None of this is in the manual. Some of it contradicts the manual. All of it works. Lieutenant Robert Chen from Charlie Company speaks up. If this contradicts official doctrine, aren't we risking court-martial for unauthorized tactics? Probably, Poole says flatly. But you're definitely risking death using authorized tactics that don't work. I know which risk I prefer. The training session begins with ammunition sorting. Poole has brought examples of 75mm rounds from different manufacturers. Every round has a manufacturer stamp here. He points to markings near the base. Watertown Arsenal, Rock Island Arsenal, Des Moines Ordnance Plant. They're supposed to be identical. They're not. He produces his notebook, opening to pages of penetration test data. Watertown Arsenal, rounds consistently penetrate, 8 to 12% deeper than specification. Des Moines rounds are about average. Rock Island rounds are softer, more likely to shatter on impact against face-hardened armor. Why doesn't the Army tell us this? Someone asks. Because acknowledging manufacturing variance would require explaining why they're accepting substandard ammunition from some contractors. Poole replies. Political considerations trump combat effectiveness. But you don't have to accept it. Sort your ammunition. Mark the good rounds. Save them for when you need maximum performance. The tank commanders begin examining their own ammunition stocks, checking manufacturer stamps. Mitchell looks up, troubled. Sergeant, I've got maybe 30 Watertown rounds in a loadout of 70. If I save those for critical shots, what do I use the rest of the time? The same way you use them now, Poole answers. The other rounds work fine at normal combat ranges. I'm only talking about extreme range engagement, where every percentage, point of penetration matters. If you're shooting at 1200 meters or less, the manufacturer variance is within acceptable margins. But if you're trying to kill a tiger at 1800 meters, you need every possible advantage. The second lesson is more complex. Impact angle optimization. Poole has set up a demonstration using a captured Panther tank's turret, that division ordnance teams have helpfully positioned on the range. Official doctrine says aim perpendicular to the armor plate for maximum penetration. That's true for thin armor. It's wrong for face-hardened plates thicker than 80 millimeters. He picks up a chunk of German armor plate, pointing to its layered structure. Face-hardened armor has a hard outer surface and softer inner layers. When you hit it perpendicular, the hard face shatters the armor-piercing cap. But if you hit at 20 to 25 degrees from perpendicular, something interesting happens. Poole fires a Sherman 75mm gun at the Panther, turret positioned at various angles. At perpendicular impact, the round penetrates but creates a clean hole. At 23 degrees, the penetration is deeper, and the armor around the hole shows radial fractures. The oblique impact creates compression waves that travel through the armor at different speeds. Poole explains, these waves interact with grain boundaries in the steel, creating microfractures that weaken the plate just before the main penetrator arrives. The net effect is deeper penetration than you'd get from a perpendicular hit. Chen studies the damaged turret. How do we calculate the angle in combat? There's no time for trigonometry when someone's shooting at you. You don't calculate in combat, you pre-calculate. Poole produces a terrain map covered in marked positions. Before each operation, study the terrain. Identify positions where the elevation and approach angle naturally create the geometry you need. Then maneuver to those positions during combat. The third lesson is the most controversial. Defying official engagement doctrine. The manual says, don't engage tigers beyond 1,200 meters. Poole states, that doctrine is designed to prevent losses from ineffective fire, but it also means you never challenge German assumptions about their invulnerability at long range. He points to the demonstration turret again. Tigers fight Shermans by positioning at maximum range, using their superior optics and guns to destroy us before we can close to effective range. German crews have been conditioned to believe they're safe beyond 1,500 meters. This breeds tactical carelessness. But we can't reliably penetrate at that range, Mitchell objects. Can't we? Poole produces his combat records. Yesterday I achieved 3 for 3 kills at 1,800 meters. That's 100% hit rate and 100% kill rate. How does that compare to our average engagement results at close range? The statistics are sobering. Analysis of Sherman versus Tiger engagements shows that at ranges under 1,000 meters, where doctrine says Shermans should fight American tanks, average 3.4 shots to achieve a kill. Survival time for Shermans in close-range engagements with Tigers averages 47 seconds. Here's the reality, Poole says. Close-range engagements favor Tigers because their armor is impenetrable frontally and their gun reload rate is faster than ours. But at extreme range, we have advantages they don't expect. We can fire first because they don't think we're a threat. We can fire from concealment because they're not scanning for threats at that range. And if we do achieve penetration, their crew isn't expecting it. The psychological shock disrupts their response. Lieutenant Sarah Walsh, from Dog Company, one of only 3 female tank commanders in the division, serving under a classified program, raises a compelling objection. Sergeant, you're describing techniques that require exceptional gunnery skill and ideal conditions. What about average crews on bad days? It's the question Poole has been dreading because it exposes the fundamental problem with his approach. Not everyone can do this. Ma'am, you're absolutely right. These techniques require skilled gunners, good ammunition, favorable terrain, and some luck. Not every crew can execute them. But here's what every crew can do. Understand that the official doctrine is minimum guaranteed performance, not maximum possible performance. He sweeps his gaze across the assembled commanders. I'm not saying everyone should try 1,800-meter shots. I'm saying everyone should know that such shots are possible under the right conditions. The difference between impossible and difficult but achievable is the difference between immediate retreat and considered engagement. The training continues for 6 hours. Poole demonstrates ammunition selection, angle calculation, and firing position selection. He shares his notebook, allowing commanders to photograph the pages. He answers questions ranging from technical minutiae to broader tactical philosophy. But the most important moment comes during a break when Captain Mitchell approaches privately. "Sergeant, what you're teaching? It's not just about ballistics, is it? Sir, you're teaching us to question authority, to trust our observations over official doctrine, to violate regulations if combat effectiveness requires it. That's dangerous." Poole meets his eyes. "Captain, I'm teaching survival. If that means questioning authority, so be it. The alternative is following doctrine that gets us killed while waiting for someone at Aberdeen to admit their firing tables are incomplete." Mitchell nods slowly. "I lost 8 tanks at Aachen. Standard doctrine. We engaged at prescribed ranges using authorized tactics. 8 tanks destroyed, 29 men killed, because we did everything by the book. I'm listening, Sergeant. Keep teaching." Word of Poole's training spreads rapidly through 3rd Armored Division. Within days, tank commanders from other companies request briefings. Poole finds himself conducting unofficial training sessions during maintenance periods, teaching his heretical methods to anyone willing to listen. The response reveals a striking division within the armored force. Younger officers and enlisted commanders embrace Poole's approach enthusiastically. They've seen official doctrine fail repeatedly. They're hungry for anything that might improve their survival odds. They begin calling themselves Poole's shooters, tank crews using his modified firing tables. But older officers and by-the-book commanders resist fiercely. They view Poole's methods as dangerous innovation by an enlisted man who doesn't understand the broader implications of abandoning established doctrine. They argue that Poole's success is statistical noise, a lucky streak that will regress to the mean. Major Barclay documents the controversy in his intelligence reports. The division is experiencing an unprecedented doctrinal split. Approximately 60% of tank commanders have adopted some form of Sergeant Poole's modified engagement tactics. 40% continue using official doctrine. Results suggest Poole's methods increase long-range kill probability, but also increase ammunition expenditure and crew fatigue from pre-operation planning. Net effect on combat effectiveness remains unclear, but early indicators are positive. What Barclay's report doesn't capture is the underground railroad of tactical heresy that Poole has created. Tank commanders using his methods begin sharing information across unit boundaries. They trade ammunition crews with excess Watertown Arsenal rounds, bartering them to Poole's shooters who can make best use of them. They mark terrain maps with optimal firing positions and share the intelligence. A captain from 2nd Armored Division travels 40 kilometers to attend one of Poole's training sessions after hearing rumors about the sergeant who killed 3 tigers at impossible range. The German response is equally significant. Prisoner interrogations reveal that word of long-range Sherman kills is spreading through panzer units. Tiger commanders who previously positioned themselves confidently at 1,500+ meters are becoming more cautious. Some refuse to engage until they've closed to ranges where they can guarantee first-shot kills. The psychological impact of Poole's methods exceeds their tactical impact. German tank crews' faith in their invulnerability is cracking. An interrogation of Oberscharführer Karl Hendrik, captured after his Tiger was knocked out at 1,600 meters by one of Poole's students, provides insight into German thinking. "We were told American Shermans cannot hurt Tigers beyond 1,000 meters. This is what we learned in tank school. This is what we experienced in combat. But now they kill us at distances where we thought we were safe. We do not understand how. Say Americans have new guns, others say new ammunition. All we know is that the old certainties no longer hold." This is precisely what Poole intended. He's not just killing German tanks, he's killing German confidence. By late March, Poole's training has influenced approximately 180 tank commanders across 3 armored divisions. The results are measurable. Average engagement range for Sherman versus Tiger encounters increases from 890 meters to 1,340 meters. Average ammunition expenditure per kill increases from 3.4 rounds to 5.1 rounds. but survival time for Shermans increases from 47 seconds to 94 seconds. Trading ammunition for time proves strategically favorable, but success brings scrutiny. A formal inquiry is convened at 1st Army Headquarters to investigate reports of unauthorized tactical doctrine spreading through armored units. The inquiry's scope is remarkable. Did a tank sergeant fundamentally alter American armored doctrine without authorization? Brigadier General Hickey testifies in Poole's defense. Sergeant Poole identified a critical gap between laboratory testing and combat reality. His methods are unconventional, but demonstrably effective. Combat effectiveness should outweigh procedural regularity. The inquiry's conclusion is bureaucratically perfect. Poole's methods are neither officially endorsed nor officially prohibited. Tank commanders may use his techniques at their discretion, but will not be provided official support. This satisfies no one, but allows everyone to continue what they're doing. Poole receives neither court-martial nor commendation, just permission to keep killing Germans however he sees fit. The final validation comes on April 2nd, 1945, when a Sherman commanded by Lieutenant Chen, one of Poole's students, destroys a King Tiger at 1,950 meters using Poole's ammunition selection and angle calculation methods. Chen's after-action report includes a dry observation. Official firing tables say this engagement was impossible. Sergeant Poole's calculations say it had a 27% success probability. Reality agrees with Poole. By war's end, Poole's Underground Railroad of Heresy has fundamentally altered how American tankers fight. Official doctrine remains unchanged. The Aberdeen Proving Ground never revises its firing tables. But in the field, tank commanders routinely exceed official performance envelopes using Poole's methods. The disconnect between official doctrine and actual practice grows so wide that post-war analysis teams struggle to explain American armored performance in the war's final months. The numbers tell the story. In January 1945, before Poole's training, American tank crews achieved an average kill ratio of 1:2, 7 against German armor. By May 1945, after widespread adoption of Poole's methods, the ratio improved to 1:1, 4. Hundreds of American tank crew lives were saved by a sergeant with an 8th grade education who refused to accept expert consensus about what was impossible. Poole's notebook, preserved in Army archives, contains a final entry dated May 7, 1945. Germany surrendered today. German tank crews who survived know better. The engineers at Aberdeen will never admit their firing tables were incomplete. But the men who lived because they learned to question those tables, they know the truth. Sometimes survival requires heresy. Sometimes the math that matters isn't the one in the manual. Sometimes one stubborn bastard with a crumpled piece of paper can change everything. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.